I got mine, then I sent a friend to get one just like it, and I noticed we're back on. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I, I got a self-contained one. It's like a reverse slide screen in a clamshell case. It just pops down, lock it up, take it off.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been, and I had a virtual keynote on Wednesday. Had been live and rescheduled, and
Fantastic.
yeah, I was thrilled.
How'd it go?
It went very well, actually. It was for the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, and I guess they offer all sorts of employee benefits in their EAP and all sorts of online this and that, but they never offered anything on mental health. So the
Really?
new director said we're going to do something on mental health every month, one day every month. So I was there. I was their inaugural, and 50 people signed up and 48 showed up. I was pleased.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's usually about 2/3
And
show
I
up.
got I am on a web-based speakers bureau, and they offer you can become a certified virtual presenter. And the way you do that is you got to have a nice HD camera, lapel mic, lights, screen, backdrop, and decent speed internet connection. So I had my test on Monday, I think, and I passed. So I'm now a certified virtual presenter.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, all the things I'm bidding on speaker wise, that's what I don't think. I think there's a TED talk I'm going to send in this weekend. A pitch that's actually live, but January. But everything else is
Okay.
all the other hey, submit are virtual. So,
Wow. Yep.
so my wife said who's going to be on your podcast? I said the Bad Widow. She goes, why is she a bad widow? I said, well, best I recall, she didn't act like a good widow. She didn't wear black for a year. She didn't wallow. She didn't. So well, you can remind me when we get to when Zara gets on why you're the bad widow.
I will do that.
That's a lovely painting, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is that a particular place or from memory?
That is from Maine. I'll show you some of my others while we're waiting.
Okay.
So this is another Maine. This is a landscape.
Nice.
New York, Pan Am Building, partial of the Pan Am Building.
Yeah.
This is a stoop in the village. This is a bedroom, also in Maine. A storm.
Yeah. Can feel that one coming.
Yep. Flowers. More flowers.
Jonquils, I think.
And this, I think so, yeah. So sort of flowers, but they're all paintings.
Yeah. Watercolor?
Oils.
Oh.
I have watercolors as well, but once they're in the frame, the frame ricochets the light back if you're trying to take a photo and you get reflections.
Ah, okay. I got you.
So they're harder to photograph.
Well, we're at 11:06, and it looks like maybe. Let me look at my phone and see if Zara sent me a text. There she is. Text. Not feeling well? Can you do it without me? Yes. No worries. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I got it. All right. Like it's you and me again.
Okay. That was so funny what happened last time.
What was it? Remind me, because I've been doing so much.
So you had sent me, I got the prep for the podcast.
Right.
because you had asked me to be on the podcast. But then I got the link for the 30-minute.
That's right. Oops. Yeah.
So I signed up for that, and we were, I guess, having a great conversation operating on two different sets of assumptions through the entire thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I did one of those. I think I told you we have a book on men's mental health. Second volume gets published later this month, and I'm interviewing each of the contributors, the men,
Yep.
and for promotional purposes. And I had a guy on the calendar, Bart, I think his name, yeah, Bart. And it was 30 minutes, and we're chatting away, probably 10, 12 minutes. And finally I said, Bart, what can I do for you? And he goes, well, Frank, apparently you've forgotten that I'm one of the contributors in the book, and you're supposed to be interviewing me. Oh my God. He goes, but you were so pleasant and nice, and I've had such a good time. I hated to say, hey, are we interviewing? Yeah. So yeah, little lapse here and there.
It happens.
It
It's
happens.
not a big deal. It
No.
was pretty funny. I mean, we got a chance to get to know each other before this.
Yeah, I thought it was a wonderful conversation. It was.
Me too. Me too.
So welcome to the Suicide Prevention Punchline. Frank Ging, it's me, Zara Khan, and she just texted me that she's under the weather. I'll tell you why she's under the weather. It's actually kind of a positive thing. Her dream. She's a comedian. I was at a NAMI function, National Alliance for Mental Illness. I was keynote speaker, and Zara was there accepting the Volunteer of the Year award, and she had done some stand-up, like open mic one or two, and she had confided in a friend that she wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and that she knew that I, the speaker, was in fact a stand-up comedian from way back, and wanted to meet me, but was painfully shy. So her friend waited until somehow I got within about 6 feet of Zara, and her friend just pushed her. So that's how we met, like that. And she said, I want to be a stand-up comedian, and I'm a student. I don't have any money. I said, well, I take a student every now and then on scholarship. And so we started working together. And I helped her get 2 TEDx talks. And she got a manager, a comedy, manager in less than 3 years, which is almost unheard of. And
Fantastic.
her dream is to write for a late night comedy show or for John Oliver. And she has had a chance this week to put together a package. There's a format for Colbert. They want a writer of color, and she is folks from Pakistan, so she's brown. And so she's been she's anxious anyway, but she's been, first she was worried that she wouldn't get it. And then she was worried, what if I get it and I can't do the job? So I think she's wound herself up so tight that that's why she's under the weather, because she's turning in the packet today. All her fingers crossed. And she's taking a class from a guy who was a writer on Late Night with David Letterman. So she's got some good guidance on putting the package together. But I think that's why she's ill. She's wound herself up. What if I don't? What if I get it? What if I don't? So anyway, that's what she's undoubtedly she's just as we used to say down south, she's taken to her bed.
Oh dear. Yeah. Michelle Smigel, who's Robert Smigel of Saturday Night Live's, was a roommate of mine.
Oh.
So I actually know them pretty well.
Yeah, and she had to write monologue jokes. She had to write what they call a desk piece. She had to write a skit that, because they hire players to come in. The host doesn't usually get involved in whatever the sketch is. She had to write a sketch, and she did a good job. The stuff she had, I looked over and we tweaked it back and forth, and it's a good submission. So I've got my fan. She's a person of color, so and a female. So if they want diversity, she checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, for sure. That's great.
So I know who you are. We spent a half hour on different Zoom calls on the same Zoom. So tell the world who you are.
I should tell the world who I am?
Yeah, tell the world, tell our watchers, our listeners who you are.
Okay. My name is Allison Penna, aka Bad Widow. And I call myself that because after my husband died of pancreatic cancer in 2016, what I discovered is that people have a lot of ideas about how to speak to and act around widows, which are all wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I became bad widow because I decided that it was going to be my job to blow up the assumptions and re-educate the people.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
So
Do
that's
people, so they say the wrong things and they do the wrong things, but do they also distance themselves to avoid such things because they don't know what to say and what to do?
yes, they do. People would step up, step back, or step out of my life. So those were the three ways that people acted. The people who had the most trouble with the idea that they were going to die, they mostly stepped out because they were so scared, like my husband's having died would rub off on them.
Yeah, that's like, they catch it. Yeah.
Yeah, they did not want much to do with me. Um, I remember right after my husband died, I went to see this friend of mine who was at church, and this woman came up to me and I said what had happened. It was the day before, and she started rubbing my shoulder, and I started having these thoughts like, if I bite her in church, is that a bad thing?
Look, cardinal or venal sin. Uh,
Yeah, she was like patting me like I was a chinchilla. Oh, I'm so sorry, and what's that like? And I just, I was not up to soothing her immediately after my husband died.
sure.
Um, and people mean well, you know. I would burst into tears randomly on all different occasions. Someone could say something, it would trigger a memory, and I'd be crying. Um, that was the first year. The second year, I would be angry, 0 to rage in about 60 seconds. So not really controllable stuff. And then, so someone would say something like, oh, I didn't mean to make you cry. And then I'd be immediately angry because then I was responsible for their discomfort about my tears,
Yeah.
which was not okay. And then I would flash up. And if they didn't have a certain level of internal fortitude, they would leave. And sometimes they would leave forever.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. If they couldn't handle their own discomfort with my grief or my rage, they went poof, typically. Um, so I started teaching people how to do it better, and I started setting them up so that they understood that I was okay, fundamentally, that the tears didn't mean I was broken.
When you say set them up, you mean in conversation, in anticipation of a problem, you would set them up.
In advance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wife and I call like, okay, get your defenses up.
yeah, I mean, I would go to a family gathering, and family gatherings, the anniversaries are really brutal after something like this. And so I would go to a family gathering and I would say, look, in the course of my time here, I might cry. I'm okay. You don't have to do anything with me. You don't have to fix me. I'm not broken. If I need to, I'll go out of the room. I may just stay and cry. I don't know. But just so you know, you don't have to do anything. You're not responsible for my tears. You didn't cause them. I got bigger problems. And then they could, to some degree, relax because I wasn't expecting them to fix it.
Sure. Because humans are sort of hardwired to solve problems.
Right.
So,
And
did anybody get it right the first time?
um,
And if
my,
so,
the
why? How?
Yeah. The man who is my boyfriend got it right. So about in my husband died in 2016, and I got myself back to being functional at all, and back to being willing to risk loving someone again, because my husband died in my arms at home. So he took his last 4 breaths with me actually holding him. And if you've loved someone and then you've lost them and you've actually seen the breath go out of their body, it's an amazingly intimate and extraordinary experience. It's also really devastating and really terrifying to take on that possibility again.
Yeah.
And I was with him for 25 years. So his skin was the only skin I knew. His body was what felt right next to mine. And I started dating this guy who just kept getting it right. I would burst into tears and I would say, "It's this anniversary. I'm so sorry. I'm so weird." And he'd say, "I don't mind that. It's okay." Um, but the moment where I would say I fell in love with him, I had been crying all day. It was, I think, my husband's birthday or something. And I was literally crying for about 8 hours. I was a complete mess. And I had scheduled to go out with this guy that night. And I wasn't sure what to do because I wanted to see him.
Yeah.
And I was a hot mess. So who wants that?
Yeah.
You know, who wants to be with that? And what I decided was that he was an adult and he could make his own choice.
Yeah.
And I was just responsible for telling him, "I'm a hot mess today, and
Yeah.
are you up for this? You know, can
Hopefully
you?"
you should know before we get Chinese.
Right, exactly. And I called him up and I said, "You know, I've been crying all day and this is the occasion and I want to see you, but this is what you're getting. And I don't know if I'll be crying tonight. Might happen, might not happen. I'd love to see you, but it's up to you. You know, no harm, no foul. If you say no to this, I'm good. It doesn't tick badly on you."
Yeah.
In the negative scale. And he said, "I'm okay with that." And then I did something else that was smart. I said, and you don't need to fix me. And you don't need to talk to me like something's wrong. Let's just go out and see what happens. I can take care of myself. I'm okay. And he said, okay. And when we were having dinner, and it was not a big dinner, we went to Whole Foods, we sat upstairs and got takeout, you know, because
Yeah.
I wasn't up for a lot. He said it was a big relief to actually know what to do.
Oh, yeah.
But on his side, he got it right because he was okay with me saying, "This is where I'm at," and with it being a dialogue, as opposed to his assuming that my behavior meant whatever he made up.
Yeah.
Because listening to what's actually going on, what happens a lot, and I think this happens also this certainly happened right after my husband died when I was seriously depressed, but what happens a lot is people overlay what they think would be the best thing for you to do if they were in your shoes,
Sure.
which is natural, but it's not helpful.
No. Human nature.
Human nature. Yeah.
Yeah. I had one of my favorite cats passed away. She survived a great deal. I took her up to OSU Small Animal Clinic. She was bleeding her liver. She had
No.
chronic liver disease, and she was in my arms. And the veterinarian said, we could go in and put the 2 pieces of her liver back together, but she's 12 or 13. And I said, yeah, I think her time has come. And he said something about what can I do before we euthanized her. I said, well, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to melt, and my grief is ugly. I'm just going to need a hug when she's gone. So he knew as soon as she took her last breath and they took her from me that he was going to be responsible, and he was okay by that. He just
Yep.
opened his arms, and I just sobbed. But he knew because my grief was ugly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but he knew going in what it was going to be like, and he agreed in advance. That's what he would do, and so it wasn't near as uncomfortable as it could have been. So I think your technique of letting them know up front, here's what's going to happen. It's not your fault, and you can't fix it. I just need this.
Exactly. And then they can get it right.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to get it right.
So give them the advantage. Don't make them guess.
Yeah, it's like going on a first date and expecting the person to know the restaurant, the kind of food that you want, the restaurant you like to go to, how much you want to spend, expecting them to just know all that magically. They
Well,
don't.
funny you should say that. On my first day with my current wife of 33 years, um,
Yay.
went to a dollar movie because I'm a big spender. Uh, Tuesday night's dollar movie night in San Diego, so we went to dollar movie, and my favorite hot dog place, build your own hot dog, was right across the way. So we went in there, and I said, "What are you gonna have?" She goes, "Nothing." I said, "Well, they've got hot dogs and all kinds of condiments," and she goes, "Well, I'm a vegetarian." I said, "Well, would you like Coke?" "No, I don't drink soda." "Well, potato chips?" "No, I don't eat potato." Long and short of it is, there's nothing in there that she. So the date cost me $1. Well, it's cost me a lot since then, Allison. But the first date cost me $1 for the movie because she didn't eat popcorn, didn't drink soda. So we didn't, no jujubes or whatever yeah. But she was, I guess, when you're vegetarian or vegan or whatever, you're used to people asking you and then having to explain. Oh, really? Well, why is that? So,
Right, right. But I bet you didn't take her there again for a date.
no, we did not go. And I've no problem. I mean, it's people choose lifestyles for whatever reason, and I understood. And I was a meat eater, and she would make meals for me with meat, whatever. Although she slowly but surely weaned me off of all that stuff, by providing alternative vegetarian tasty dishes. So
Yeah,
she weaned me off meat first, and then chicken, and then fish, and then, but very not, you shouldn't be, none of this, you shouldn't be eating. Don't you know what it does to your body?
yeah. Like, try this. This is good.
Yeah, yeah. So we do a vegetarian or vegan restaurant. Uh, Kung Foods was the name of the
Nice.
place. Yeah, and introduced. The only thing I didn't imbibe was the carrot juice. It just looked a little odd, but the rest of the food there was fabulous. So, and it was my first vegetarian meal. I'd never had I mean, I eat vegetables, never had a vegetarian meal. So,
That's
well,
great.
and did you, when we had our conversation before, did you tell me of a book, or you're working on a
I'm,
book?
yeah, I'm writing a Bad Widow book
Ah, that's right.
about this whole experience. And, what happened was I kept, I was visible and public about this journey, about while Dave was dying of pancreatic cancer and what that was like. And after he died, going through just grief like I never imagined I could feel. I describe it as a wasteland of grief with no horizon in sight. And, loss, I lost this whole future that my husband and I had co-created
Sure.
25 years. And I didn't know, I couldn't work. I couldn't focus. My energy was really variable. Um, I had a little sign next to my door. It said, shoes, keys.
Pants.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that came about. when I was going to do an errand, and I got halfway down the street before I realized that the backs of my heels were cold. And it was because I had gone out in my slippers.
I've done that. I've actually gone to a dog walk and gotten out of the car and looked down. Oh
Yep.
my God, I'm wearing my bedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on your state of mind, where you are, it's easy to forget the little details like that.
Yeah.
So you're
I,
writing a book. How far along are you on the book?
the first piece of it. So I'm writing the what I'm being asked to talk about most of all at the moment is mental health and how do you stay steady and how do you get back to resourceful. So that's the piece that I'm writing about what happened there and the ways that I made my way through it. Um, I once got in the shower and got out and thought I had had a shower, except I was dry. And that was the only way I knew that I had not had a shower.
Yeah,
I mean, I honestly was certain that I had.
yeah,
And so just writing about that long, raw place. And then the next piece is about figuring out who I was without my husband. Um, because any loss, anything where you don't feel wholly yourself anymore, where something's happened, and we're in the middle of that. People are
yeah,
dying of COVID.
yeah.
People have lost jobs. We're seriously locked down in New York City. um, and anything that changes the world dramatically changes us. I mean, you don't go back. You
Well, and
can't.
in today's vernacular, in the vernacular preferred pronoun, you went from a we to an I.
Yep.
From a we, us, to an I, me.
And the we was 25 years of we. So I was single and I was married, and then on 4 breaths I was a widow. And I had no idea what that was, except instinctively I felt that it wasn't what people kept telling me it was. It wasn't this broken person who would never recover. Now, it took a while to get there. I mean, I had to go through the grief and the anger and the fear and all of it. And I had to move when I could move, act when I could act. So when I had energy, I would do as much as I could
And know that
because
drill.
the next day might be different. I didn't ever know. Um, for focus, I put everything in calendars the second I got it because
Yeah.
I didn't know. And this time feels a little bit like that as well. Time is very slippery. Um, I have an accountability partner I talk to every weekday, and we got on the phone on Monday, and she said it's Wednesday, and I was pretty sure it was Monday, but she was saying it with so much certainty that I said I don't think it's Wednesday. And it's like that, right? In the
Oh yeah.
middle of.
I've said oftentimes I'm often wrong, but I'm never in doubt. It's
Right.
Wednesday. Oh wait, never in doubt. I really did think it was Wednesday. I really did. Well, let me two things. One, grief. There's a great image in the book by Stephen King. Kathy Bates starred in the movie. She's a super fan of James Caan.
Misery.
Misery?
Was it Misery?
Yeah.
I
And
think
there's
so.
an image in there. He's talking about his pain because she controls his pain meds after the automobile accident. And Stephen King's image was the painkillers cover the pain like a tide coming in, and then slowly but surely the tide goes out, leaving these jagged, former trees or whatever sticking out sharp. And that, for
Yep.
me, that's what grief is like. The tide comes in, it covers it over, and then every now and then the tide goes out, and those raw nerve endings are exposed to the air. And it's just, it's an ebb and a flow, and it depends on the day and the week and the time of year, and what's happened in that time period in the past connected to the loved one you lost. So,
Yeah.
second thing is you mentioned how you coped with it. Of course, this is the suicide prevention punchline we always like to ask. So, coping skills. What are you doing? What's your self care plan? Your coping skills?
Um, in the first year, actually, was a weird coping skill. Um, in the first year, I had a lot of my husband's hospice drugs, and I had a lot of all kinds of drugs that he had for pain,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept them for almost 2 years. And like I said, weird coping skill. And I was happy every day that I didn't use them.
So you have them stockpiled.
I had them stockpiled. Something bad really could have happened.
Well, and you got a way out too. I mean, if things are really, really bad, well, you've already got them stockpiled. You have your way out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But every day before I got out of bed, I had a reason to be alive. I would lie there until I had a reason to be alive. Now, it might be alive to go to the bathroom, or alive to go downstairs, or alive to reach out to a friend, but I would just lie there until I had something to look forward to.
Right.
Um, because there was a lot that was wrong. A lot that was wrong. I sang. So I sang open mics. Um, I would go to this place, and at first I would just listen. And every time they sang a love song, I would cry. One night I cried 30 out of 35 songs.
Yeah. When you're grieving something, it seems like even on the radio, it seems like every song.
Every song.
Yeah.
Every song. Um, and so I did, I went out in nature when I could. I um, I'm a big crystal person, so I would play with my crystals. I would, I'm not a big massage person. I actually couldn't tolerate being touched. I did singing bowls, which are,
Hold that thought. Just one second. The cat tried to come over the wall. Didn't know the dog was here. Sorry about that. You don't want the cat to get eaten. Sorry.
no,
You
no,
didn't see it in my virtual living room, but in my real living room,
the cat was being chased.
yeah, over the wall. Thank goodness. So your crystals.
So crystals, so playing with crystals, doing a lot of writing. So I started writing Bad Widow blog and writing out these experiences. I started writing poetry, doing open mic poetry, open mic singing. It was all, so my self-care is self-expression
Oh, okay.
and sharing. Um, and even sharing the really painful stuff that was going on, because as I was talking about this, there were people who were sort of signing on and saying, wow, I've never heard anyone express it that rawly.
Yeah.
Because very often people want to get through it, look better. And real raw grief is not pretty.
No, and I've gotten that comment about when I speak about depression, thoughts of suicide. My family's my own. They go, I just, they'll say something like, "You, I was feeling exactly the same way, but I was never able to put it in words or phrases that clearly. And as you did, you nailed what I was feeling. I didn't have the words.
Yep.
But when I heard them, I knew. Wait, that's me. So
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. People started saying, now I understand why
yeah,
I've been grieving for this person for 40 years. I never made my way through. Um, I started sharing about how, people stepped up, stepped back, stepped out. So I wound up with a lot of holes in my community, people I counted on.
Yeah.
I have another widow friend. She said some of her A players stepped out and the C players stepped up.
Yeah. I've had that experience as well.
You know, you don't know. People surprised me. I mean, they surprised me when they disappeared, and they surprised me when they came up strong.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things I talk about is really rebuilding a community from scratch to serve the person that I became as a widow. Like, who was I? What did I need then when I wasn't a we? Because a we has someone to do stuff with.
Yeah.
And I doesn't always.
Yeah. And we has, decisions made by committee,
By committee?
compromise, discussion, priority.
Absolutely. Yeah, an I has autonomy, but part of the problem was that I didn't actually know who I was without him.
Yeah, I understand. 25 years, from being single to married 25 to a widow.
Yeah. I mean, 33 years, you know what that is, to be yourself, but also a part of a we.
Yeah.
Is a whole thing.
Well, I think also that not only do you see yourself as a we,
Mm-hmm.
you, at least my friends and acquaintances think of, oh, Frank and Wendy. They think of you as a they.
Yep.
Not an it or a singular him. It's them. So not only was that your perception of your life, but other people. So they saw you as a pair, as they say in the pet world, a bonded pair.
Exactly. And then who are you when you're not that?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of what I call making distinctions, really asking myself, do I like this? Do I like that? And looking at everything newly. So the things that I had myself assumed that I liked sometimes were things my husband liked.
Ah, okay.
And I'd just taken them on.
Sure.
And so I started, let me try this. Yeah, that's not really my thing. Let me try this. This is great. My husband hated it. Right? So there were things that I had stopped doing as much, which I did before I was married, because he didn't like it. And just kind of to smooth the edges, we do that. We compromise.
Yeah, I've got a friend whose husband left her. He was very tight with the dollar. He would not allow her to run the dishwasher without it being jammed to the walls. And one of the first things she did when he left her, she had a coffee cup, a plate, and a fork in the dishwasher. She loaded up the soap and ran the dishwasher with one set, with a plate, a knife, a fork, a spoon, a cup. Because
I understand completely. But it gets that basic. I mean, you have to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
And so the world sort of contracted very, very small for me. And then I started taking it back step by step.
Yeah, you go through what you do, what you believe you like. Then you figure out well, no, that really wasn't me. That was him. I just compromised.
Yeah. And it was also, what do I have the capacity for? And I've talked to, to people who have gone to the edge of suicide. And there were times when I was super depressed, when I was really thinking about those drugs in the fridge, when I had to be really gentle with myself. And in this world, there is this notion, just push on through. And in the moments when it's necessary to be really gentle, pushing on through, I think, is the worst thing that you can do.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's this way people think sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I just need to circle the airport.
Exactly.
Instead of force a landing, No, I'm just gonna circle for a while. But you should land. No, I'm just gonna. I got plenty of fuel. I'll just be up here circling. 'Cause I'm not ready to push on through.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I wound up, because my memory was really spotty, I wound up making a whole list of all the things that I needed to do and that I like to do. And in those days when I just needed to circle the air, I took one of the really low energy items so
Yeah,
that I was in motion, but I wasn't stressed about it.
yeah. I do
So,
it. I do it called half hour power. I have something to do like taxes. Then I'll work a half an hour on my taxes, and then I'll do what you recommended, you suggested. I'll take the low hanging, easy. I can do whatever as long as I'm doing something on my list, no matter how difficult or easy it is. As long as I'm doing something for that half hour, I'm still moving forward. Then I go back to a half hour on taxes, knowing that 30 minutes will pass, and the egg timer will go off and go ding, and I can go do something like I said, low on the you know on the list is relatively easy to get through and gives me a break from the hard thing. So it's yeah, it's just another one of those sort of self care techniques.
well, it's a matter of taking care, like paying attention to. There were times I was literally jumping out of my head because there was so much pain in thinking about the future. I mean, so much pain that I couldn't tolerate it. And I would just almost leap out and not be inhabiting my own body. And so it was key for me to figure out how to get back to embodied, which for me a lot is, music, drumming, sound. Sound is really resonant for shifting the cells, doing something where, and I'm an awkward 60-year-old white woman. So I don't do yoga well. I mean, I'm looking around to see what the other people are doing to make sure I'm doing it right. That's what I do. When they do these exercises and they're doing that tangling thing where you do your feet, my feet are never doing the right thing. Never.
Yeah,
So,
my wife said that she took aerobics classes with all the younger women, the dancers and whatever. She's in the back and she felt like one of the hippos in the Disney movie Fantasia at the back of the room behind everybody. She's just trying to watch everybody to figure out where to put her feet.
oh, exactly. I mean, I just, someone has just written an article which will come out in September on me and on a particular thing I did to move through grief. Um, and so I needed to do the dance moves of this practice. And I talked to the photographer, and and he said, I really love photographing dancers. And I said, okay, well, get over it, because I'm not one. And I will say, during the photo shoot, I thoroughly entertained the families and children and nannies that were in Central Park.
Yeah,
But
look, look at
you
the
got to
awkward
own
woman
it.
dancing. Look at the awkward woman dancing.
Right, exactly. Exactly. But that's human, like letting that be, allowing allowing myself to live into whatever capacity I had that day was really key to moving through this time.
Well, and I've got a 10X line, who's a professional dancer, and in her presentation, her keynote, which will become her, will be shrunk to become her TED Talk. She, in addition to talking about her trauma, she, her body, as a dancer, she illustrates it with dance. So
Right.
you can see the pain she was going through by the way she's moving her body in dance. So, well, do you have a podcast? Did you tell me you have a podcast?
I don't. Not yet.
Oh my God, Allison, you're the Bad Widow. I don't think there is another Bad Widow podcast. I don't think there's a. Do we talk about anchors?
It's on the list of to-dos for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Well, if you have difficulty, they struggle with it, let me know. But
Okay.
Anchor.fm. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how easy it is to put up a picture, show a description, and then do a Zoom and just take the audio clip from the Zoom and it says submit and up it goes and it goes out to iTunes, iHeart, Google Podcast.
Wow.
But yeah, I just think there's no shortage of widows or widowers. I think you would have guests lined up for you could probably fill your calendar for a year, once a week with a guest talking about these things.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
think of the good you could do for people who are in this situation, who think
Yeah.
they're completely alone.
To go from, and interestingly enough, the hardest thing was being willing to love, because the getting back to work. So the first job I took was in a pop-up store because I could only work 4 hours,
Oh, okay.
that another widow had, a Halloween pop-up store. But when I got ready to consider love, and it really went like, I have lots of girlfriends. I don't have any guy friends that I'm doing things with at the moment.
Right.
Because intimacy was way off the table, not even in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
For a long time. And just the thought of going on in that aspect of my life would bring up this enormous wash of grief. So reaching for joy and reaching for love buried me in grief.
Well, and there are people, I read blog posts or something recently. There are people in a situation like that where they will choose the pain they know
Mm-hmm.
over risking the joy that they will feel if they extend themselves again.
Yep.
So they can put up with they know the level of pain they're in. They're surviving that, and they're just not willing to risk, you know, what letting go of that and reaching out, taking a chance. Because
Yep.
anytime you love something, it's chances are it will leave, it will pass away. So, not uncommon.
Well, and the only way, and this is how, so the way that I've gone through all of this from 2016 to now is I keep looking out to what is beyond the pain, because I have to have something to look forward to. That's what I've found.
Mm.
And so when I was looking at love, what was between me and the possibility of love was unbelievable amounts of pain and grief and fear and anger. Because it brought up, why did you leave me? And it was horrendous, and nobody felt right. But what I said to myself was that I am entitled to a second epic love affair in my life. I get to have that. And that was enough for me to bump up against barrier after barrier after barrier, to having someone else's arm around my waist, to being kissed. I used to have panic attacks if someone kissed me.
Mm.
I mean, full on. Freak out, get away from me, jumping back.
Yeah, that's there's an ugly date.
Yeah, right?
Is he bothering you, lady? On her date, for God's sake.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you explain, that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, tell it to the judge, sir. Okay, all right.
But
Let's
I
do
got
this.
it.
Let's do
You
this. Couple
Yep.
questions. What do you think? Have you thought? I'm sure you have. That your husband would want for you in terms of, you know, love and life and.
Okay, well, this is a little bit going to jump the track. My husband has been a pretty active ghost.
Ah.
So he, especially in the first year, would turn on and off lights, would turn on and off music, would have my phone play a song when it was across the room. And when I go to singing bowls, the person who does that is intuitive or something, and he speaks to her. So he tells her jokes. And he kept insisting that he found my boyfriend for me.
Yeah.
And he was getting really angry when I was dating another guy
Oh,
and wouldn't let go of him. And my boyfriend is everything I loved in my husband, plus, plus, plus. So I think I got a little extra help. So he'd be happy in answer to your question, since he says he brought my boyfriend to me.
I've got a friend whose wife died of cancer in Raleigh, North Carolina, Tom Guile. And as his wife was winding down, she insisted they get a dog. And he's like, why? No, we need a dog. We have to have a dog. So they picked out a dog and rescued it. Young, year or two. And then she passed away.
Yep.
And he was walking the dog, and he met a woman with a dog, and she's now his second wife.
Yep.
And he believes, I believe, that's what the dog was about. She picked the second wife by insisting they get a dog somehow, and that's how it just seems a little too coincidental.
This stuff happens all the time. All the time.
Last question, and then I'll ask for your contact information if somebody wants to get hold of you. The bag of pills, the hospice meds, that were in the refrigerator, when did you finally, or have you finally gotten rid of them?
After 2 years, I got rid of them. It's very hard to get rid of liquids. So you can get rid of pills. And so I tried to take them back to the hospital, and they wouldn't take them.
Yeah.
So I eventually dumped the pills, and then I tried to take the liquids to the fire station when they had a, drug take back.
Yeah.
But they had left 15 minutes before. So it took me, in answer to your question, a really long time. And I didn't actually like the idea of pouring them in coffee grounds and throwing them in the trash, because that feels like then they get in the water supply.
Probably.
So I had a lot of issues about getting rid of the drugs. And also, they weren't covered by insurance. So by the time my husband died, we were spending $2,500 a month on drugs that I was really reluctant to just give up.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have felt better about it if they could have gone to someone who didn't have the funds, who needed them.
Yeah.
So that was a really complicated answer. It took about 2 years.
Okay. And name of your book is going to be?
It'll be not entirely sure. It'll be Bad Widow something.
Okay. Well, as your speaker coach, I'd recommend that Bad Widow something be the name of the book. Bad Widow something be the name of your podcast. I assume you have a URL with the words Bad Widow in it.
Yeah, my website is badwidow.com.
Okay, perfect. So there you go. Podcast, keynote, URL. Oh, and that your Facebook business page, your YouTube channel, all of them have some permutation of Bad Widow. So that if they don't remember your name, get that woman, that Bad Widow woman. So when they type Bad Widow woman into the Google search, up you come. So,
Yep.
And I would encourage you to two things. One, do a podcast, a Bad Widow podcast, and have guests on. And you can write your book. You can have each episode transcribed. Make a chapter in Bad Widow Volume 1, Bad Widow Volume 2 podcast, and then guest on. Try to find some podcasts to be a guest on a couple times a week. the similar grief, mental health, mental illness, in the same genre.
Yep.
That's at least that's what I advise my speaking students because Google loves new content. Every time you're on there with your name attached to Bad Widow and your topic and your keywords, then it's Google juice for people if they happen to want to find you. So.
Right, right. That's great. Yeah, I
And,
mean,
uh,
offline, we may have a conversation about my working with you to TED Talk because
yeah,
that's totally on my radar as well.
God, Bad Widow is a kick-ass next time. I think I can sell that.
Yep.
I believe we can get people to read that one. So, yeah, and some of my clients I struggle to find a good title, but I don't think we have to go much farther than that. It piques the curiosity. Bad Widow.
Well, it's very funny because some people say, that's terrible. It doesn't explain what you are. And that's what I like about it. Because the next question is, what does that mean? And then I have permission to go in.
Well, and that's with a TEDx application. That's exactly what we wanted to title. Bad Widow. Want the curation team to go, what does that mean? Well, we better read the subtitle and the description to figure that out. You force them to read on.
Yep.
They're not going anywhere until they figure out what the heck you're talking about. So that's perfect. Well, Allison, as always, you've been a joy and a delight.
A great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for a Bad Widow, hey, so people can get hold of you at badwidow.com.
Badwidow.com.
Okay, and that's your preferred method of contact. Somebody's listening to this and they're they may be struggling with a similar problem.
Yep, they can go to badwidow.com. I do a complimentary call so that I can talk to people about their specific challenges.
Oh, okay.
And that's the deal. And
all right. Well, when you're ready to, when you get to the point where you're ready to start on your TEDx, let me know, and I would be delighted. I think that's a kick-ass title. That title we can sell.
I think so. I definitely think so.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being on the Suicide Prevention Punchline. Frank King's Arkansas is home. So I'm trying to recover from the anxiety of submitting a package to get a writing job on Stephen Colbert's show, which would be just a coup. I couldn't be happier for if it happens. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, review. It really does help. If you enjoyed the podcast, please tell your friends. If you didn't enjoy the podcast, well, we hope you have no friends. So anyway, thank you, Allison.
Thank you so much, Frank.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye. Stay in touch, Allison.
I will definitely do that.
And if I bump into anybody who needs your help in that area, I will certainly send them your way.
And if Zara, I mean, I have limited influence, but if she, I can possibly do my best to connect her to Robert, which might be a useful thing.
Yeah, and if they have most of the shows have a packet. And they say, look, if you're going to be a writer on our show, we need this. Sketch, desk piece, monologue joke, cold opening, whatever. Cold open, like Saturday Night Live always is a cold open.
Okay.
So if they have a packet that they could say, we'll send her the packet, and then she can fill it out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'll see. They're madly well connected.
That'd be great.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
Sweet. Thanks, Allison.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.